just real quick, I'm going to do my June book haul. It's probably still not going to be a quick video because there's quite a few. And yeah, I'm just going to go through real quick what they're about, why I picked it up, and where I got it from / price-wise is. Okay. The first book I have here is called Written in the Blood by Stephen Lloyd Jones. It's a pretty thick one. I like this cover. This is kind of like a psychological thriller book about a teenage runaway girl, and I just remember reading the beginning, and it's this girl who is looking at an ID and shape-shifting into that picture, and it sounded really interesting. So I picked it up. It was from Dollar Tree, so it was $1. The next book I have here is one I've been wanting for a little while. This is Star Wars The Force Awakens adult novelization by Alan Dean Foster. I'm collecting all of the novelizations, both the junior and the adult, but this was the last adult one I'm missing, so now I have them all. And yeah, I got this at my job for like $5. This one is one that I was really excited about, and I've been holding off getting for a while. It's The Becoming of Noah Shaw by Michelle Hodkin. This is the first book in the Shaw Confessions, which is also kind of the fourth book in the Mara Dyer series. I haven't read the last book in the original Mara Dyer trilogy, so I was holding off on purchasing this until I read through the series, but this was like $3, and I knew I was never going to get it at that price, so now when I finally read it, because I definitely plan on reading the series this year, I can just continue with this one. Next here, I have one that I'm planning on reading this upcoming week for the Booktubeathon. It's The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. This is the Owl Crate exclusive cover because the original cover is all black. This one's all green. And this one, lots of people have been talking about it. It came out in January of this year, and it is about a girl whose grandmother writes these like mysterious fantasy novels, and one day this girl's mom goes missing, and it turns out that she got kidnapped and brought into this supposedly fictional world that her grandmother writes about. And she has to team up with one of the ultimate fans of this book series that her grandmother wrote and try to get her mom back. And I'm excited to read it. Next here was something I got about a week ago, and it's because we got them both in, and I don't know, they're just really beautiful, and who knows, maybe I'll read through the series this year, and that is the Six of Crows duology by Leigh Bardugo. We have the first one, Six of Crows, and the second one, Crooked Kingdom, and these are the first editions, so they have the sprayed edges that are black and red. Yeah, so I have the full series right here, and I'm excited to pick it up. Next here, one of my coworkers that collects Stephen King books, she knows that I also collect, and so she already had this one, I think, and she put it aside for me when we got it traded in again. And that is The Outsider by Stephen King. This is his newest book. It's more of a adult mystery thriller one, and it's kind of a tie-in to the Bill Hodges trilogy, like the Mr. Mercedes trilogy. So I have a little bit to go till I read this, but now I think I have all of his most recent books that he's released, and I was really excited about it. And yeah, all of these were around $4. It was like past 3. I got them from my job. This one is the journal that Dipper has from Gravity Falls. My sister had a copy of this, and I always wanted it, but it was pretty pricey, and then we got it in for like $2. And yes, it's very nice. It's going to be one that's really fun to flip through. Love the show. Love this. The next one here I actually got from Goodwill, and I got it for $1, I believe, and it's Wonder by R.J. Palacio. Lots of people know what this is. It's a middle grade about a little boy named Augie who has a facial deformality, and he's always been homeschooled his whole life, and now he's going to go to public school for the first time, and it's kind of what happens when he finally does. Movie came out recently, and lots of people said that the movie was good, and I'm excited to get around to getting into the story. Next here was something that I was super excited to find. It is Star Wars The Clone Wars episode guide. This is the guide to all of the first 5 seasons worth of episodes, so it doesn't have like the lost episodes, like 6 season thing, but other than that, it has like every single episode, and it's really cool because it has screen caps from the episode, the name, the number of how it ties in important events that happened in the episode and which were the main characters it focused on in that specific episode. I'm currently picking the Clone Wars back up again because, like, ever since they announced the new season for Comic-Con, so yeah, I'm going to be definitely excited to one day just flip through and read this whole thing. On the same note of Star Wars, I finally got one of the William Shakespeare Star Wars by Ian Doeshier. This, I believe, is A New Hope, because it's not specific, like, laid out, but it is one of the, like, Star Wars Shakespeare books, and it has illustrations throughout, and it's basically, if you've heard of these, just one of the Star Wars movies turned into a Shakespeare language type play. So, excited to have that for my Star Wars book collection. Next here, we have another one from Dollar Tree, and it's called Beetlebone by Kevin Barry, and it is about John Lennon going on this weird kind of adventure road trip thing with this guy who can shapeshift. It sounds weird, and yeah, I was really excited to pick it up. I'm a huge Beatles fan, and if I'm not into it, I can always, like, trade it in. It was $1. Another one from the dollar store was actually one that I've wanted for a little over a year now, so I was really excited to see it there. It's called The Last Message Received, and it's put together by some people and illustrated and whatnot. This originally stemmed off as a Tumblr blog where people just had people submit, like, they could either be anonymous or not, things that were, like, their last message that they received from somebody in general, like whether or not it was before someone ghosted them, before they broke up with somebody, before somebody died, or, like, committed suicide, anything that, for whatever reason, that was the last conversation thing that they ever said to them. And yes, it's really interesting. Some of them are really sad, and some of them have, like, little backstories on the bottom of them to give you some context. So I'm excited to flip through this, and it should be, like, a quick read. So we have that. Next, we have The Folded Clock, a diary by Heidi Julavitis. And this is essentially a nonfiction diary that this girl kept because she heard that if you kept a diary, it would unlock more of your creativity and, like, give you more motivation to write and whatnot. So she did this for, I believe, 2 years of her life, and it's just her life. And I want to see, like, if it's interesting, if it motivates me to kind of, I want to start keeping a diary more regularly so I can start writing every day naturally. And yeah, it's really nice. It's one of those hardbacks that doesn't need a dust jacket. So there's that. Next here is probably the thing I'm most excited about in this haul, at least for right now, and that is the 100 trilogy by Cass Morgan. I've been watching the show a lot, and we got this in at my store. I think I spent like $8 or $9 on it, and it has all 3 of the TV show tie-in covers, and they are all very nice. And yeah, I want to wait until I'm caught up with the TV show. They're uploading, I believe, next month the 5th season, and as soon as I watch through all that I still have to catch up, I want to start reading them, because I don't want to be reading them and watching it at the same time, because I don't want it to influence the storyline in my head, if that makes sense. Next year, I have also from Dollar Tree, it's called Hot Flash by Carrie H. Johnson, and it's this kind of one of those, like, paperback mystery crime thriller novel things. It takes place during a heat wave. It's starring this woman who is, like, having some love trouble. It's kind of one of those, like, urban fiction things, but it also has, like, a bit of a crime element to it. I believe she's a cop. And I read the first chapter, and it was already really funny, so I'm really excited to pick this one up. Next year, we have one that I've heard a lot of people on BookTube talk about recently. It is The Duchess Deal by Tessa Dare. Lots of people have been getting into historical romance, and lots of people have also been saying that Tessa Dare is the one to pick up. so far, out of hearing people talk about different books of hers, this is the one that kind of stood out to me the most. This is basically about a duke who, like, is set to marry this woman, and then he kind of gets, like, the dress and the wedding and everything set up, and then the woman that he was going to marry backs out of it. So, the woman who made the dress, when she comes to drop it off, he's like, hey, we already have everything set up, you have the dress, why not put it on and I'll get married to you instead? And she's like, okay, and it kind of just takes off from there. So it sounds funny, and it sounds interesting, and I'll be able to see if I like Tessa Dare or not. And this was only like $1 at my store, so yes. Next is one of the only books from this haul that I've already read, and that is The Little Prince by,
Antoine Superior.
Yes, that. It's very French. But yes, I read this book a while ago, and it's a tiny version of it, but it still has all the illustrations, and it's not abridged or anything. And I love this book. It's very cute. It's very sad, and I wanted my own copy, and this was, I believe, $1 as well. Next here, we go back to the Star Wars books. I got Thrawn by Timothy Zahn. This is the first book in the Thrawn trilogy. I believe the third one just recently came out. And I've heard many people love this. Many people say that this is the best, like, Star Wars books that are out there. And it is following the villain / like assassin mercenary dude Thrawn. And I always really like this cover, and we got kind of the awkward sized mass market food book, which I actually really like these, like, sizes, but I don't have too many books within this size. But yes, I'm excited to get to this. And, next, we have The Last Kids on Earth by, Max Brailer, illustrated by Douglas Holgate. There you go. This is the first book in this series that I believe is already, like, 4 to 6 books long, and it is about an apocalypse. It's not necessarily like a zombie apocalypse or just a generalized apocalypse. It's kind of like the one that happens in the Scooby-Doo apocalypse comics, where it's just a bunch of different monsters and creatures terrorizing, like, a whole society. And I read, like, the first chapter or so, and it's pretty hilarious. It's funny, and it's sarcastic. It's kind of like reading a Percy Jackson book or something if you were in the apocalypse, and how you learn how to survive and stuff. And it seems like kind of like Walking Dead-esque, but for kids. And yes, I think this will be, like, a fun book read when I need one. Next here, we have History Is All You Left Me by Adam Florero. Lots of people know what this is. This is a LGBTYA book about this guy, and he has this boyfriend, and he breaks up with him, and that guy finds a new boyfriend, and then his old boyfriend dies, and it's kind of like this ex-guy and his new boyfriend, they're both mourning the loss of him, and I think something happens between them. The thing is, I avoided this book for a while because it sounds a lot like the plot of Why Is My Girlfriend Home Me, just instead of it being 2 women, it's 2 guys. But I started reading, like, the first, like, 20 pages or so of this, and it is really beautifully written. I recently picked up They Both Die at the End, and I got an arc of What If It's Us, the collaboration book thing that he has with Becky Albertelli, and I'm really excited for his writing. So now the only thing that I don't have by him is More Happy Than Not, and I'm really excited to just make him one of my new favorite authors. So let's see how this goes. Next is a really gorgeous version of a book that I've been wanting for a while. It was like $2 or $3. It is The Power by Naomi Alderman. This has won lots of awards and stuff. It's known as a very acclaimed piece of feminist fiction. And this is basically what would happen if one day women all of a sudden got, like, this ability to harness electricity. And so they all have, like, they can kind of, like, shoot lightning through their hands or some shit, I don't know. And so now the power balance shifts, and all of a sudden women are the one who are, like, the executives and who are making all the decisions and stuff like that. And it's like, what would happen in this universe if the ones who kind of made most of the decisions and had the power were women? And obviously, I've heard that like it goes wrong, and it's like women can be just as corrupt as men or something. But I would like to see how the story plays out, and lots of people have said good things about this one. Next year, we have another Dollar Tree one, and this one is called Mr. Hire's Engagement by Borges? I don't know. Semmenos? I think it's foreign. This is a really cute, like, little penguin edition. And it is basically about this dude who is, like, qualified, or, well, described as, like, a peeping Tom, and, like, his whole character description makes him sound, like, really creepy and stuff, and it's him, I think, finding a girlfriend. It sounds similar in plot to You by Carolyn Kepnes, and I wanted to see how kind of a classic did that, plus I really like this cover. So, for the $1, we'll see how it goes. It's really short looking, so I might pick that up soon. And yeah. Next year, we have one from Goodwill, I believe. And this was like a book. And it is Room by Emma Donoghue. I actually really like this movie cover to it. Because the regular original cover is just like all white and it has like paint splatters on it. This one is a really dark adult kind of domestic thriller-esque thing. I guess it would how it would qualify, about this woman who got kidnapped like a long time ago, and she ends up getting pregnant, I think, from her kidnappers, and having a baby, and it's in the point of view of this little boy, and it's called Room because all he's known is this room. He's never been allowed to leave this room, and it's just really dark and heavy. I also have this on my iPod, like in ebook format, so I think it'd be easy to switch back and forth, and it's a very like pristine copy for a used copy. So I'm, ready to get to that one soon. Next, we have another Goodwill purchase, and that is Cured by Bethany Higgins. This is the second book to Stung by her. I don't know if there's more books in the series or if this is just a companion kind of duology deal. But these books are basically dystopian novels, some of the best dystopian I've read, about what would happen if bees went extinct. And it's really interesting, like, that honey is like a valuable like export in this world and stuff like that, and you kind of see the world deteriorating, which is something that they kind of showed in the Bee Movie of what would happen if bees didn't like exist and weren't around to kind of like pollinate the earth and shit. And it's just, bees are very impactful in lots of these stories, and there's interesting covers with bees on them. I'm really into buying books with bees on the cover now because I'm a bee mom. I'm living that life. And yes, so now I finally have them. Next here, we have Been Here All Along by Sandy Hall. This is a YA contemporary book that features a male-male romance. It's kind of like the whole boy next door scenario, but instead, like, it's two boys instead of like our classic hetero couple. And I have A Little Something Different, also by Sandy Hall, which is a not LGBT, but like kind of like similar vibes. So I figured if I get into her writing, I can read them back to back. And this cover is really pretty. I think it was like $1 and change. Lots of these get marked really cheap. Next year, I have one that I've been wanting for a little while. It's Lola and the Boy Next Door by Stephanie Perkins. This is the second book within the whole Anna and the French Kiss trilogy companion novel series. I've read Anna and I've read Isla, but I've never read Lola, and this is actually lots of people's favorites within the bunch. And it's about this girl named Lola living in San Francisco, and she has 2 dads, and she has, I believe, pink hair, and she's very vibrant and weird. And I know that her main love interest of this book, his name is Cricket. And also there's appearances from Anna from the first book, and I believe they work in the same movie theater together. At least these were also details that I picked up while reading Isla and seeing how Lola connected to the story. So excited to get to this one. Next year, we have, from Goodwill, we have How to Archer by Sterling Archer. Archer was one of my favorite shows. I've already watched through like the first 6 seasons. I love him as a character. and this is basically written in Archer's point of view. And it's a book about how to be a spy, how to make the perfect, like, you know, drinks and stuff. It's like how to live like him, by him. And I've read the first couple different, like, little essay things in here, and it's really amusing so far. Told one of my friends about it, and she said that sounds fantastic, and I was like, I know. So I recently picked it up. It was like $1. So yes, that's here. Next, we have, I think, the only full-priced book in this haul. I got it from Target because I needed to take cash out for something. So of course, my excuse was to buy a book, and that is Heartless by Marissa Meyer. This is a standalone book that is an origin story of the Queen of Hearts before she was the Queen of Hearts, kind of a romance that, like, you know, ruins her life. I hear she bakes a lot, and I read the first chapter, and it's her baking, like, cookies or muffins or some shit, and the way they describe food, I love books that make you, like, hungry with how well they describe food. This is the paperback version, obviously, so it's the white cover instead of the black one the hardback has. I haven't read anything by Marissa Meyer. I have Cinder somewhere in storage, and I recently picked up Renegades, so I'm going to try out her, like, standalone to not commit to a full series of hers, and see if I like her writing or not. So there's this one, and lots of people love it. Next, I have The Master by Tara Suni. This is one, I don't know like what number it is, but it's a random book from the Submissive series. This, if you can tell by like the name and the title and all that stuff, this is a BDSM book, so obviously very adult. And I see that we carry a lot of books by this author in the erotica section of my job. I was very interested to see like how her writing is, and this one in like particular seemed interesting to me. I got this at Dollar Tree, so obviously $1, because this is about a woman who was very like heavily into the whole BDSM community and everything, and then she ends up actually getting very badly like abused by one of like the people that she was doing this with, and she now has severe PTSD, and so she wants to get back into the whole like community and like experiencing it and everything, but she wants to find somebody who will kind of understand that she's been hurt and she's hesitant and she has like issues now because of that. And I don't know, it sounds really interesting because also I've never seen like an erotic BDSM novel that also tackles mental illness, so I'm excited for it. So it's there. Now we're down to like what, the last 5 books. We're almost there. Next we have Instinct by James Patterson, which was originally apparently called Murder Games, but they changed the title because there's a TV show starring Alan Cumming. I don't know. This, I was like, oh, this looks interesting, and I was on vacation in Savannah, and I was at Walmart, and I was like, let me pick this up and start reading it, and it was like fucking legit. Like, it sounded really good, and the first little prologue thing is in the serial killer, because this is like one of those murder mystery novels. It's in the killer's point of view. And like the opening thing is like, so you want to be a killer, and it's like describing how you would go about like murdering somebody, and I was totally into it. And then I found this at Goodwill for like $1, so I bought it. That's the story behind that. Okay. Next here we have The Cresswell Plot by Eliza West. This is one that I saw lots of people, I believe, getting sent to them back in the day. Lots of booktubers. This, I don't know, it's a YA or adult, I'm not sure, but it focuses on a group of teenagers, but it sounds like it has really adult themes. And it is about these group of siblings who grow up in this very, like, evangelical cult, and it's them trying to escape from it, it's them trying to, like, live life outside of that cult, and they're very abused by it and everything. It sounds good. It looks like it'd be a quick read, like the font's really big. So, and I started watching lots of TED Talks by people who have escaped, you know, like abusive cults. So this seemed appropriate at the time. So yeah, we'll see when I get to that. Then, we have one that I seen and I was like, this seems like it was made for me. It's called The Beekeeper's Apprentice by Laurie R. King, and it's literally Sherlock Holmes. He becomes old, and after he retires, he's like, yo, why not become a beekeeper? I don't even know the plot after that, but it sounded like something I needed in my life. Plus, this cover. I've been buying books, like I said, with these on the cover, and it has like a whole honeycomb thing going on, and it's so pretty, and it has Sherlock in it. And yeah, so this one, I really want to pick up soon. Next, we have another book that I plan on reading for the Booktubeathon, but it's one that I have already read. I just plan on rereading it, and that is The Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. This is the first book in the Percy Jackson series. I read this one, The Lightning Thief, the first one, when I was a kid. Loved it. Watched the movie. Obviously, we all know the movie is not that good. But I never read past that, and I own the whole series and all of that, but I've never gotten past the first book. So I'm going to read this for Booktubeathon. It's going to be like my first read, and then later in this year I have on like an app the other 4 books in the series, and I just really want to get into it and just fly through it and keep going. And if it becomes something I'm into, I have, I believe, like the first book in the Heroes of Olympus and one of the Trials of Apollo. We'll just see. I'm going to dive into that, you know? So I'm excited, and then I seen this cover, and I have the movie cover for the first one, and it's really beat up, and it looks like somebody like lit it on fire or like poured candle wax on it. I don't know. I got it from like a Goodwill in Florida. But I see this cover, and it has like so many elements from the actual story. Like it has Medusa and like the bull guy, and like it's so gorgeous. So I'm gonna keep this. I'm gonna get rid of the one I have in storage when I finally get to it. And yeah, we're gonna do that. And lastly, we're down to the last book. And that is called November Road by Lou Brain. This is an arc. It comes out October 18th. It is the only arc that I have obtained this month. And this is about this, I believe, family and like people who were living in America around the time of the JFK assassination, and how it affected the country, and like stuff that revolved around it, how that happened and everything. I read 11/22/63, which is all about the JFK assassination. Loved it. So I figured maybe a contemporary, not sci-fi book about it might be something that like I wanted to pick up. So we have this, and we'll see how that goes. And that is it. That is everything. I might do like a separate video in the future for like ebooks, or like also comics and manga. There's different layers. But if you like this book, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe if you'd like to see more of my face and my books. Bye.